When I was in fifth grade, I went to the hobby store. I went to the hobby store for a little project for school, and I saw people playing Warhammer, and it like blew me away. And I saw a codex for the Tau, and I had like this huge mech suit and like these weird alien warriors running around, and these guys with like laser guns. And being like 10 years old, there was probably not a cooler combination of things ever that I'd ever witnessed in one place. And that got me started down the path. All right, down the path. There's a lot of tropes in 40k. A lot of tropes in 40k, and I've heard these people or the Tau rather. Well, I call the Tau people. I've heard them referred to as communists, but I don't think that they are space commies at all. I don't. It is true that they want to bring multiple races together, and they do that. They do that actually. They're as far as all the races go, I think they're the most peaceful. In terms of actually being assimilated, joining the Tau is probably like the lifestyle is probably just better. And the reason why is there's not a lot of Tau. There's not a lot of Tau. In the last Chancers, in the second last Chancers book, Cage talks. He like the Tau are trying to impress him, and the Tau are like, "Well, what do you have?" And Cage was like, "On my world, there's over 8 billion of us," or like he said, like 16 billion or some like crazy number. And the Tau are like, "That cannot be so. There are more humans on that planet than there are Tau in our sector." And so everyone living underneath the Tau Va, which is the greater good. I guess that's also why people think it's kind of communisty, is because there's that ideal. But everyone underneath the Tau Va, they don't spread like the Imperium does. They spread rapidly, but in order to maintain their empire, they have resorted to the most dastardly of technology, artificial intelligence. The Tau are extremely um, the Tau are extremely advanced. Okay, they can make technology which the Imperium cannot. They can only rediscover technology. The Imperium actually ran into the Tau when they were primitive and they were on the brink of destruction. They were warring against each other. There are 4 castes: the Earth caste, the Fire caste, the Air caste, and the Water caste. And they all each look very different. They're nearly all a different race. I don't think that there's any cross like mixing or anything, because it would, seeing like a Water caste member be with an Earth caste member would be like preposterous. But yeah, it wouldn't even be appropriate to use like Fire Warrior models for the Earth caste people, because they're like way taller and more fragile and skinnier. But they were all fighting with each other, and the Imperium actually came into contact with them and basically just let them like to their own devices. They were like, "Oh, they're gonna kill themselves. This is great." They actually have tests like samples of the Tau back then somewhere in some fucking vault on Mars, and so they left the Tau for the dead. And they left because there was some crazy warp storm surrounding the Tau. And so the next time the Imperium came into contact with them 6,000 years later, they are the race that we know today. They were no longer cavemen. They adapted rapidly. And this is through the Ethereals. The Ethereals are the 5th caste of the Tau, and they are absolutely the most mysterious out of all the Tau. They just appear. They just appeared, and they made everything better. They made peace among the Tau. I believe that the Ethereals do use warp magic of some sort, and they have something. They have some sort of glamour, because in Courage and Honor, they can use that glamour to like calm down the Fire Warriors, but they can also use it to like trick. They can use it like I'm fairly certain that the Ethereal just asks the gate guard to open the prison cell for them, and that's how they get out. I'm fairly certain that's how it happens. They can do that. They can even influence human minds, which is terrible, 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 terrible. The Tau also employ many auxiliaries, notably the Kroot. The Kroot, um, they should be their own race. They should be their own army. The Kroot were getting destroyed like mercilessly by the orcs. And so the Tau came and saved the day, and now the Kroot are basically just like they're like mercenaries. They don't. So like Cage talks to them in the second Last Chancer's book. He talks to them, and he's like, "Why are you fighting for them? Like, what do they give you? What could they possibly give you? You don't want riches. You already have guns." And the Kroot is like, "Well, they let us eat the dead." The Kroot are very strange. They don't actually. They like their excrement comes from like exfoliation. They like shed their excrement, so they stink because like they're crapping through their skin. But I mean, compared to like almost any other race, it's not that bad. But one of the most interesting conversations is the Kroot saying that like he thinks the humans are dumb for worshiping the Imperium, and he thinks the Tau are dumb for worshiping the greater good. And so Cage is like, "Well, what do you worship, or what do you believe in?" And he's like, "I believe in change." And that's alarming. That's alarming because the Kroot are bird, like they're a bird-like race. There's a lot of different like types of them, but they all look like birds in a way. And he says, "I don't worship it though. Like I don't worship change. I'm just a part of it. Change simply is." The Mont Ka, that means killing blow. Mont Ka, that means killing blow. And so what you do is you take a hunter cadre, which is about 50 warriors, and you surround, you encircle your enemy, and that's basically how it goes. Let's see. Yeah, this one had like a this Mont Ka book is really great, really great. I actually have barely even looked at it. So like the Tau, I've seen on the tabletop, there's a couple different iterations of their army over the years. The one that I like the most, and it's actually the worst, it just to me it seems the most like the Tau is the Markerlight army, where basically like it's basically like the Mont Ka. It's like a special forces operation where they like have all these guys with like laser designators, and that like marks everything on the target, and it just becomes like the warriors themselves don't have sophisticated targeting like technology. Well, they do, and that's what the lasers are. But it's like this big formulated thing where first you need to like get intel, and then you like proceed from there. Their battle is a lot more controlled. This picture is pretty cool. This was like some original artwork that I haven't seen anywhere else. So then there's the suit army, which I've been suited a couple times. The suit army, they just scream in with these battle suits, these crisis battle suits. The Tau have suits which are kind of like they're essentially like dreadnoughts. Like it's almost like a dreadnought equivalent. The dreadnought is like way more like durable, but this is like closer. It's the closest analog to the dreadnoughts, I think. But the cool thing is the guy can just get in and out. Like he doesn't have to stay in there. There's like some fantastic like self-destruct devices the suits can have. There's some ejection seats the suits can have. One of the people in the Last Chancers, Brains, he tries to go inside the suit, and it like kills him with these like needles that stick into his neck. The thing about the suits is they're highly modular. I guess maybe comparing a suit to a Castellan Warbot. Maybe that's a better comparison than a Dreadnought. The Dreadnought's more of a vehicle. Yeah, they're highly variable. Highly variable. They really did an awesome job with this book. It's fun to open. I'm fairly certain like the lore looks grippy. This might have been one of the few last ones, and it's just it's in such pristine edition. or condition rather, because I barely even got to use it. This like rolled out, and then the end of 7th came right afterwards. Right afterwards. The Tau, like, ever since this thing came out, their suits have just been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, look at that one in the back. And then there's a Forge World one too that's just like fucking colossal. So they have like big giant fighting robots too, which is kind of cool because for the longest time the Tau didn't really have any big things. Oh, the Riptide. The Riptide was the first big suit. But this, I mean, like this picture kind of harkens back to a simpler time. Just the simpler, more like a more like militaristic Tau force. I'm trying to see if I can find that picture that I like so much. But that's basically the Tau in a nutshell. They are very like they are easily the one race that's closest to humanity, I think. And relations with humanity, I think, are probably relations with humanity are decent enough. I mean, the whole book, The Second Last Chancers, was just about like it just not being worth mankind to really go try to destroy them. They already tried it once in the Damocles Gulf Crusade, and that was a failure because, of course, they're still here. The piranhas are cool. They're like these hovercraft that can fly really fast. Piranhas. Encourage and honor Uriel Ventress, or no, one of his scout is like scout captain or whatever, his scout sergeant. That guy ate the brain of a Tau to like figure out how the piranha worked, and it was driven around. Tau players in general, they're a lot like the Eldar players, I think, where they don't really understand the lore, nor do they care for the lore that much. For them, it's enough that they're playing a high-tech space alien race. And I mean, I can't really knock it because that's what got me started into Warhammer, is thinking about a high-tech space alien race.